Hello everyone and welcome back to Destiny. Yesterday, Bungie revealed the second expansion to Destiny 2 called Warmind. It's set to launch May 8th at 10 AM alongside Season 3. It's $20 on its own, $15 as part of the Season Pass, and for once, it looks like we might just be getting our money's worth. The larger issues of the game notwithstanding, I'm genuinely excited for the new story, the new gear, and of course the new activity known as Escalation Protocol, the closest thing to a horde mode we've seen in Destiny to date. So, what can we expect to see on May 8th, and will it really be worth your time? Let's get into it. So let's dive right in with point number one, and that is the details of this expansion, specifically what we're getting in Warmind. So, Warmind tells the story of a character that has long lived in Destiny's lore, but we have yet to see, and that is Anna Bray, or Anastasia Bray. The campaign will center around her, her family, and the Warmind known as Rasputin, as her family's company, Clovis Bray, was the company to develop Rasputin in the first place. And it seems like Rasputin's core is located on Mars, specifically Hela's Basin on the polar ice caps. And that is of course the new destination coming with Warmind. The new destination seems to be about the size of Titan from what we can gather, and it'll be filled with adventures and lots of hidden secrets. The location also features an area referred to as Clovis Futurescape. This is where Anna Bray will be hanging out, as she has been confirmed to be the destination's vendor. So of course that means that she's not going to disappear at the end of the campaign like Osiris did, because of course she has to collect those tasty tokens from you. Thank goodness, in a way. Now, the catalyst for the story seems to be an awakening of a new sect of Hive, known as the Grasp of Nokris. They are also referred to as the Frost Hive for shorthand, and they follow their leader, Nokris, as their name implies. Now, you might be familiar with Nokris from Destiny 1 Scannables and Grimoire, as he is another one of the Hive Princes, and I think the brother of Crota. You'll have to let me know in the comments below if I'm wrong on that. But it appears that Nokris may be in a weakened state and is drawing power from a giant hive worm god known as Zol. Zol appears to be the actual big bad of the Warmind campaign if the prologue is any indication. In fact, we know this because the premise of one of the strikes, it calls for us to track down Nokris and take him out before he can regain his strength. So there's a very good chance that he's not going to be the big bad of the campaign. And that leads us to strikes in Expansion 2. There are 2 of them, and a third one on PlayStation. The first strike is called Strange Terrain, and it has us going down in the depths of Hela's Basin, where we have to hunt down Nokris. The other one is called Will of the Thousands, still Hive-themed, still on Mars, but it seems like it involves Rasputin much more directly, as we have to stop the Hive from interfacing with Rasputin in some way. No word on whether or not these strikes will be first experienced during the campaign as missions a la Curse of Osiris. I hope not. Hopefully the Warmind campaign is strong enough not to need them as part of it, but of course we'll know soon enough. Now, the third PS exclusive strike is called Terminus. This strike takes place on Nessus, and we'll have to stop a Scion commander from taking control of Vex Gates. Sounds interesting, but nothing ground-shattering, and a lot of people are actually saying that it sounds like a reskin of the Dust Palace, which I don't think I would mind. The more strikes the better. Now, aside from that, we have confirmation of a second raid layer for Leviathan, and it is titled Spire of Stars. And if you take a look at the screenshot of Leviathan posted on Reddit, we can get a sense of where it's taking place. But if the symbol on the director is any indication, I think it'll be taking place in Callus's Shadow Realm. Maybe we'll fight a Dark Callus. That would be pretty awesome. No details on the raid layer, of course. That stuff's pretty tight-lipped. But you can probably expect a new set of armor, in addition to being able to earn the fusion rifle and sidearm from the Leviathan weapon set. Now, of course, we all want brand new weapon sets for each of the raid layers, but it doesn't seem like that's feasible right now. They could still surprise us. We'll have to wait and see. I'm just praying for another raid exotic. Come on, Bungie, make it happen. Lastly, in regards to final details, we have confirmation of the level cap being raised to 30, the new soft cap being raised to 340, and then the new hard cap for power being raised to 380, 385 with mods. And Bungie has assured us that the climb from 340 to 380 will be far less generous than it is now, so expect a bit of a grind. Anyway, speaking of grind, let's talk about the new activity being added to Warmind, which deserves its own topic number 2, and that is called Escalation Protocol. This is a new public event type activity. It is being referred to as a ritual activity by Bungie, and at its core, it's a timed mode like all public events are, but this time you have to take on 7 waves of Hive. They increase in difficulty and feature their own unique bosses. You can initiate this activity from Patrol, and everyone else can join in and help. This is probably the closest thing we're going to get to a Horde mode anytime soon, as it has already been confirmed that the big game-changing game mode that is coming in the fall will not be a Horde mode. Now, the interesting details here start with the fact that this will not be a cakewalk. Bungie has promised a good amount of challenge with this activity, which has actually apparently been made even harder as of the feedback from the summit, so it was pretty cool for them to be able to make that change at the last moment. Now, the mode will feature a boss to fight at the end of each of these waves, and also featuring a unique boss at the end of round 7 that has its own unique mechanics. Bungie has designed 5 of these unique bosses that will cycle in and out every week. It kind of sounds like Court of Oryx, which is awesome. And to complement this, to keep you playing, Bungie has definitely upped the rewards game. So you get your standard public event chests at the end of round 3 and round 5, but for clearing round 7, you will have access to 1 of 3 unique legendary super weapons that are not available anywhere else. From what I could tell, there is a shotgun, a sniper rifle, and an SMG. They all feature Rasputin-themed designs, and on top of that, these weapons feature some pretty interesting perks. For instance, the shotgun activates increased damage after a melee kill, and when I say increased damage, apparently it's like 200 to 300% more damage. Pretty insane. The cool thing here is that the weapon seems to be setting up for you to be able to do a lot more DPS to get through the hordes of enemies faster. This mode is clearly designed to test your effectiveness in combat over any kind of fancy mechanics, and finally the game is getting back to offering endgame weapons that are designed to help you in the activities that they are rewarded from, like they were in Destiny 1, and it makes me very happy. The activity also includes a full Warmind theme armor set to earn for each of the classes, which is definitely pretty cool. Now, the big wow factor is the addition of a couple relics. First up, we have the glorious return of the Hive Sword from Destiny 1 in all of its air-dashing, ground-slamming action, and in addition to that, we have the introduction of a brand new relic called the Valkyrie. It is a spear imbued with Warmind tech that you can toss and slam down. Both relics are super strong, but will only last for 20 seconds, so you'll have to choose the relic time very wisely, and it actually might be necessary for you to get through a couple of the encounters. I'm genuinely very interested in this new mode, and I'll be grinding the hell out of it for sure. I think at the very least it'll keep us busy and invested until E3, where the fall expansion hype can carry us through the summer. Anyways, moving right along, let's move on to point number 3, and that is the Crucible. We got a pretty good outline of how the ranking system is going to work for the game. They're going to be completely changing the reward structure. It looks like bounties are making some kind of return. They did mention that you're going to be able to acquire certain pieces of gear based on things like headshots and pulse rifle kills. But of course, we do have the actual ranking system itself, and the way that works is that we have 2 different versions of ranking. First up, we have Valor, which is what is available through Quick Play, and for this, it's more of a participation rank. You can't go backwards or down from losses, you can only go up, and of course, winning goes up even faster. You're still going to be able to rank up and get rewards based on that score, but it's more of a participation rank. The thing that people, especially the competitive scene, is going to be more interested in is the second ranking system, and that is called Glory. Now, this ranking system can go up and down based on wins and losses, so you're going to have to bring your A game. The Crucible ranks are as follows. We have Guardian, Brave, Heroic, Fabled, Mythic, and Legend. Valor caps at 2,000 rank points, and Glory caps at 5,500 rank points. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, why do I even want to bother with Crucible ranks? And Crucible ranks are going to matter to you because every season, starting with Season 3, we're going to have a very special weapon to pursue. This weapon is going to be attainable on the 3rd rank, which is Fable, and I believe one of the developers stated on Twitter that he expects this to be 40% of the player base. So it's not going to be something that everybody's going to get their hands on, but this weapon for this season is Redrix's Claymore. It is a pulse rifle with a very interesting perk. In fact, it's got stacking perks. The first perk is Outlaw, like you know it and love it as it is now, but then it's got a second perk that builds off of that, like the weapons in Wrath of the Machine did, and that is called Desperado. Desperado essentially increases your rate of fire when you reload with Outlaw. So what does rate of fire increase look like? Well, for this weapon, it takes it from 340 RPM to 600 RPM. And it does not take away from impact. The good people over on Reddit have done the math and it looks pretty sweet, so this is definitely going to be one of those heavily sought after guns. Anyways, moving on to point number 4, and that is of course the topic of exotics. We of course are getting a pretty major balance pass with the start of Season 3. We've seen all the devastation of the Graviton Lance and the Skyburners on Twitter, but we got to see even more of the buffed exotics in action, and man, I can't wait to try some of these out. We'll touch on these weapon buffs in much more detail later on, but there's one that I definitely want to call out, and that is my good old pal, the Hardlight. Now, the Hardlight was a bit of an unsung hero in Destiny 1, mostly because of how auto rifles were tuned, but it's become one of my favorite weapons to use in Destiny 2, mostly due to its elemental versatility. But one much requested feature that honestly boggled most of us was the ability to switch the elements on the fly, like the Borealis. Having to dive into your menu to change the element is pretty lame, and it's also something you can't do in a locked loadout scenario. Well, starting in May, we will in fact be able to change the element upon reload like the Borealis, hallelujah, and on top of that they have significantly buffed the damage for the ricochet rounds, so it seems like my favorite energy exotic auto is getting a whole lot better. Oh wait, there's only one energy exotic auto. Anyways, another big feature coming to exotics is called exotic catalysts. This will function like Masterworks currently do on legendaries, however they're taking it a step beyond a simple stat boost or orb generation. There will actually be whole new perks that are added to your gun, and from the sounds of it, some of them are pretty overpowered. Each exotic has its own unique catalyst, and the acquisition of these catalysts is going to be kept a mystery, thank goodness. I'm a big boy, Bungie, you can let go my hand a little. Now, the catalyst icon description gives us some indications on when we can get it. For instance, we can earn some catalysts through completing adventures, which is definitely pretty awesome. And hey, you've given me a reason to play through your existing content. I think this could be a much larger value add than we realize, and I can't wait to dive into it more. Finally, in regards to exotics is, well, new ones. We got a confirmation for 2 new exotic weapons coming to the game. We have the Suros Regime. It's back with a very fresh looking coat of blue paint, and the perk tree does seem to indicate that the D1 perks for at least Year 2 are making a comeback. It looks like you'll be able to select between Focused Fire and Spinning Up, which is awesome. The Suros is a solid weapon and I'm excited to have it back. Aside from that, we have a brand new submachine gun from Tex Mechanica. It's called the Huckleberry, and it seems like it has some pretty insane perks. Most of them revolve around auto-reloading the weapon and promotes close-quarter combats with the ability to increase your stats on melee hits. In addition to that, it also has Rampage. So definitely very beastly. Now, there's a slew of brand new and returning exotic armor pieces, one that I'm very excited about, and I'll leave that out of the video in case you don't want to be spoiled. I'll leave a link down below in the description if you do want to check them out, and of course we'll go over them as I discover them in the game. Now, the question really remains is, why are there only 2 new exotic weapons? Well, unlike Curse of Osiris, I strongly believe that we will have multiple other avenues of earning exotic gear. Namely, exotic quests. One acquisition of a weapon in this fashion is essentially confirmed, and that is the Sleeper Simulant. In this shot, we see a Guardian wielding what looks very similar to the Sleeper, and in fact the front of it glows blue like the linear fusion rifles do in this game, so I would say that's pretty conclusive evidence that the Sleeper is making its way back, but it wasn't revealed to us as something that can drop from an engram, so I think this is something that we'll have to earn. And speaking of which, this leads us to point number 5, and that is collectibles and mysteries. So this is a pretty big deal, I think. The new destination will now feature collectibles and have even more mysteries for us to solve. And there's a very good chance that we will encounter hidden exotic quests this time around. One can only hope anyways. Now, this is a bit of a bigger topic, and I want to spend a lot more time diving into it, so I'll keep that for a different video, and also I want to keep this as spoiler-free as possible, so we'll talk more about the specifics of what we've discovered so far in the next video. But to make up for the shortcomings of point number 5, let's talk about perhaps one of the biggest quality of life improvements coming to the game, and that is the emote wheel. The emote wheel is finally here, and it's frustratingly obvious. I don't know why it took them this long to put it into the game, but it's now here and we can finally rest easy and assign all of the emotes we could ever want into each of those directional slots. And I'm personally hoping that this opens the door to alternative wave emotes and alternative sitting emotes. That would be pretty awesome. Aside from that, we are getting a slight increase to vault space. I think we're getting 50 extra slots. Now, it's important to remember that this is not the massive overhaul to the vault system that we're going to be getting in September. Just like in Destiny 1, I think kiosks and collections are going to be a bigger way to kind of keep your vault as clear as possible. So, of course, we'll have to wait a few more months for that. But anyways, let me know what you think of the Warmind reveal. There's a lot to go over. There's a lot that we covered. And, of course, there's a lot more for us to discover. Hopefully, some pretty cool stuff. Hopefully, some hidden stuff. And we're going to be going over some of those hidden collectible things in the next video. But anyways, let me know what you think. I'm very curious to see if this is enough to get you to jump back into the game to hold you over until September. Or are you done with Destiny and just watch these videos because you like hearing my voice? Maybe? I don't know. But anyways, let's discuss. Not my voice, the game preferably. So as always, drop a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more Destiny content, and I will see you all next time.